out there. I trust I shouldn't trust the process. Wait, are you into like the universe, retrograde, any of that stuff?
Like the fact that it's Mercury retrograde and that's why communication and electronics, like I don't even get mad anymore. I'm like, of course nothing's working. Why would it?
Instantly when you so I know enough to be like in a conversation. Like I could be thrown in it and I'd be quiet, but I know what they're kind of talking about. And I do know that Mercury is in retrograde. And when we were having the trouble with the Zoom, I didn't want to say it because it's like imagine if you weren't like a star guru girly and I said, "Oh, Mercury's in retro." Like I don't know if I could own that. "Oh, Mercury's in retrograde. It's fine." Like, imagine if you weren't into it. You'd be like, who am I talking to for the next hour? This is.
I get even more entertained by that though. If I say something like that and then people look at me like I am an idiot, I'm like, well, now this is fun.
Oh, so where do we go
It's
from
just
here?
fun.
Okay, Sebastian, previously known as Jesus.
Is Jesus. What is happening on my computer? Hold on. Some weird big purple screen. Okay, we're back.
Retrograde.
Yeah, previously known as Jesus. My kids named it Jesus because it has risen.
Your kids are smart kids, witty. You
Witty.
can't teach
I
that
killed
stuff in
Jesus,
school.
unfortunately.
Oh, shoot.
I neglected my relationship with Jesus.
Oh my God. Isn't that a lesson within it?
And
my goodness.
so I don't want to offend anybody. I love me some Jesus, but I think Jesus is funny. I think Jesus has a really good sense of humor. And I think that he appreciates a sourdough being named after him. And he realizes I'm human and sometimes I neglect things.
I am so just, I feel like the way that you're describing things makes me know that we're friends. So
Yeah.
my Jesus is Italian. He wears a gold chain. He's got like he's a hot Jesus, but he's got a little chest hair. My Jesus smokes a J every once in a while when like things get a little tough out there, like my Jesus gets it. My Jesus cusses a little. My Jesus loves Italian food. Yeah, that's my Jesus. And I think
My
he would
Jesus loves a charcuterie board.
yes.
Look at that Last Supper picture.
Bread, wine.
Oh,
like you can't tell me this isn't my person. Like this is my Jesus. He had a literally charcuterie board table. All these Pinterest girlies, all these Pinterest girlies. I think they thought they were on to something.
Ladies.
You're not the
You
literally
didn't come up with this.
Oh my God. Okay, you're funny.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for just answering my DMs on one random day when I like started talking to you on Instagram.
I love Instagram DM best friends are my favorite. Literally my best friend in the world. We met in an Instagram DM. It's my favorite.
I think you learn a lot about people in a different way because you see the memes they post or like the things that they think are funny. And over time, like I'll like be watching someone's stories and it's kind of like the whole sales trick. Like you see something 7 times and then people make the purchase. It's like if I see someone post something like witty and funny 7 times, I'm like, we're supposed to be friends. Oh my gosh. Okay. So on that note, so you're from do you say Phoenix or do you say Scottsdale? Where do you prefer in the area to be from?
It depends on how bougie I want to come across. So if I'm like feeling super bougie, I'll be like Scottsdale. But if I literally just want somebody to geographically understand where I'm from, I'll say Phoenix because people don't know that Scottsdale and Phoenix are together.
Right, right. When I first moved to Scottsdale, when I lived there, I didn't want to go to Phoenix. I was like, ugh, Phoenix. And there's no, I think I went there one time. And the year I lived in Scottsdale, I went to Phoenix one time. I just like stayed in my little zip code. I was like, where do I need to go besides the airport? Like, there's nothing here for me. Everything I need is in Scottsdale.
Moved here. We've been here since 2018. And when we moved here, we took like 7 or 8 trips here to figure out like where do we want to be? Where do we vibe? Where do we want the kids in school? And it was very confusing because everyone here is so patriotic to their part of town.
Yeah.
And so whoever you talk to, every other part of town is the worst case scenario. And now I'm the same. So
Why do you think that
I
is? Why is there so
don't
much
know.
loyalty?
I don't know. And it's ridiculous because in my mind, I live in North Scottsdale. I will go to
Oh,
Biltmore,
oh.
which is like Biltmore's like 45 minutes away from me,
Yeah.
but it's still in Scottsdale. I think it's technically still in Scottsdale, like Fashion Square, I'll say, or like that
Uh-huh.
whole Camelback area
Uh-huh.
that's still technically Scottsdale. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll swing by there, no problem. But then if somebody asks me to go to Glendale, you can get effed. It's not happening.
No, nice
It's
try.
the same distance.
It's
It's the
just the
same
other way. Yeah.
distance away. Somebody asked me to go to Chandler or Gilbert, it better be for a really good reason.
You better be a
But then
high
you talk
paying
to
client.
people from
Yeah.
talk to people from that part of town and they're like, I don't want to have to go to Scottsdale. I'm like, it's the perfect part of town. Why would
That's
it's
literally the
the
nicest
weirdest
one.
patriotism
Oh
that
my
we
God.
have.
It's so true though. Like I have, all of my friends live in different parts of the metro whole area, and each one will equally have their like, and it'll always be a comment. It's never, no, come here. It's, oh, Scottsdale, or like whatever the name of the town is as the reference. And
Mhm.
like just that sound of disgust.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long have you guys officially been in Scottsdale? We're gonna go with that because I like.
So we're going on 6 years. Maybe we're going on 7. We moved here in
Nice.
2018. Again,
Nice.
I do words, not numbers. So how many years is that? 6. Okay, yeah. So we're going on 6 years. And we
How
moved from North Texas. So we were in the Dallas Fort Worth area
uh,
and then came here in
what
2018.
what sparked the move? What was the reason why you guys moved from Texas to Scottsdale?
So the true spark, like on paper, is my husband's company. He's in big construction, like highways, bridges, roads, industrial buildings. And he had an opportunity to take a promotion here. So they were doing work in Texas and but we're based here in Phoenix. And he had an opportunity to take that promotion. I had sold my business 2 years prior to our move, so about a year prior to us talking about moving, looking into it. And a year after the sale, I still wasn't quite like moonwalking out of the operations the way I expected. So as sales typically go, but to everybody's chagrin, is you get the most money when you sell a business and you do an earn out. So like you you buy yourself a job.
Mm.
You sell your business, but you stay on in whatever capacity to kind of help the transition and keep the client base still in there. But by the expectations I had set with my team, it was like there was this kind of unsaid thing that, yeah, the owner changed, but we're not taking your name off the door and we want to see you all day, every day here. And
You're
I'm like,
like, this isn't really what I wanted to do.
this isn't really what I was going for. So a halfway across the country move kind of helped. It was kind of a perfect situation for that.
Are you from Texas originally, or where are you guys from?
I was raised in Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah. I
I
love
was
it.
raised in Oklahoma. My husband and I were both raised in Oklahoma. I was in Tulsa. He was in Edmond, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City.
Uh-huh.
We were college sweethearts at Oklahoma State.
Oh, cowboy. Or wait, what are they?
Yeah, Cowboys, go Pokes.
Yeah.
Which Oklahoma State did beat ASU the other day. I say the other day, this summer or whatever, recently. They were
There's
here
only
in
two
Arizona
seasons.
playing.
Yeah.
Right. It was hot, so I say summer. It was like
Yeah.
October. Oklahoma State came here and played the Sun Devils, and one, and that was kind of cool.
Feels good.
But yeah, we were college sweethearts. Immediately after graduation, moved to North Texas, never looked back. And just the culture, I mean, the culture of the South and the Midwest is like, you
Mhm.
don't leave where you're from. So
How dare you?
we were wild to be leaving Oklahoma and going 2 hours away to North Texas.
Yeah,
Like
nope, I know.
rebels.
Oh my gosh, you badass
And then, yeah,
bitches.
I had our kids in Texas and lived our whole adult lives in North Texas. And then with that opportunity came here and have not looked back. And again, now we're the crazy people again, because who leaves Texas? It's
Right.
the greatest country on earth.
For real though, I do love the spirit there. Their loyalty, that's some I mean, and also too, when everyone was moving out of California in 2020, they were going to either Arizona or Texas. So you guys have like
Yeah.
the two best places.
Yeah, it's true. But we have felt more at home, have built deeper relationships than in 6 years here than we did 13 years in Texas.
Oh my gosh. Why do you think that
So we
is?
love it here. Um, I think since Arizona is a transplant state, like there are not, I mean, there's plenty of people that were born here, but the first question people ask is like, oh, where are you from? They just assume you're not from here. It is a transplant state.
Mhm,
I think people are much more open to different backgrounds and different points of view. And that's not a make or break of a friendship of
mhm,
if you've lived a different life, have had a different experience and look at life a different way. It's just kind
mhm,
of expected here. Where in Texas, there's one way to believe, there's one way to think. And if you don't, you're wrong. And
mhm.
Oklahoma is kind of the same. So
Nebraska and Kansas is kind of the same
yeah.
too. Yep, yep. Just
We're just like swinging up the map there.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with that statement. That Scott Phoenix was the first place that I ever really moved away from home. Like in college and out of college, I lived like an hour from where I was from. And that was like the first time that I'd ever was like, I live somewhere different. But I love that everyone was always like, "Where are you from?" But I kept meeting people from the Midwest. Like everybody that I was meeting
They're
was
like,
from
we got out.
Chicago. Yeah, like we did
Yeah.
this, we made it. So yeah, I loved it there. How long did it take you? I mean, you kind of had COVID in the middle of these last 6 years. Did that affect like meeting new friends and things like that? Or do you feel like you were in the groove and settled a couple years in?
We were mostly in the groove. It was still very, very hard on my kids. My older one in particular, because like he was in fifth grade when we moved here. So he was like really settled into some good friendships. So we totally ruined his life when we first moved here. And then he was like just getting in the groove when COVID hit. And that was rough. It
Oh, I
was
bet.
like on his mental health, on that was not a good time. But we had made some really awesome friends in our neighborhood. And we had like some solid friendships there. Right at the beginning of COVID, it's inconsequential, but some things happened that we moved neighborhoods. And it was kind of clutch because we're on this cul-de-sac of just like amazing people that were like, instead of it being sprawled out, like all of our friends were like, boom, 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 like right on one cul-de-sac. And it was, I think that was really good for everybody. And then at the end of COVID, things fell in place that we moved back to our original neighborhood where all of our original friends were. So it was, we had exactly what we needed in some really amazing friendships, exactly how we needed them at the
Wow,
time.
you got lucky.
So
Also,
it was really, yeah,
that kind of makes me think, housing prices are just out of control right now. But
so dumb.
do you feel like there is a price tag or a number or value if you are getting a house and you find out that 5 of your neighbors are like so fucking cool? Like, do you think you would
Oh,
pay like you'd be like, "Well, guys, listen, we don't have serial killers. We know for sure in our neighborhood and all these people like to have a good time and go to Mastro's on a group dinner every month." Like, would you pay extra for that knowing that
I
you're like
do.
you're like, "Yeah, that's real estate, baby." Oh my god,
I
yeah, I
do. And it's, we choose to rent. Like I don't, it's what works for us. I know there's plenty of people in real estate. They're like, well, let me show you the numbers. I don't care. Because
I
like you're
want to
saying,
tell
there is a price on peace
yeah.
of mind. And
Yeah.
I'm loving the fact that if when our kids are grown in a few years, if we want to move to Italy, we don't have to like figure out what the market's doing. And when something breaks, I can get on an app. Like it's
I love
it's
that.
the easy life for us to rent. And
Mhm.
I owned a title company. I know real estate. I know the numbers. I don't care.
I actually love that comment. I do not own, I rent. And I think I'm 34 right now, and I have been going through like the last 10 years, I really feel like, where friends are buying houses or buying condos or moving and all of those things. And I was
Mhm.
moving, so I was like, I'm not going to buy something when I know I'm not going to like live in LA forever or whatever.
Yeah.
But I also was like, I'm not educated about this. I just am saying this to put it off. And then Grant Cardone, I found out he rents, and I'm like, well, if it's good enough for him, renting is
Well,
good enough for me
if he's
too.
all right with it, it's one of those things that it's like the American dream. It's part of that American
Yeah.
dream definition. And if you hit the high points of those things that are the American dream and say why it doesn't work for you, it's like instant shame. Let's tell you why you're wrong. You have to fit in this box.
Mhm.
There's no reason. And I'm like, I have no obligation to make sense to you. Like
Right. I love that.
I am a pretty freaking smart grown ass adult. And I have thought this through. And my husband, we have together, he's super smart. We have thought this through intelligently and have made a decision that works for us. We're under no obligation to make sense to anybody else.
Right, right. I love that confidence. Have you always had that confidence about decisions that you make, or
I mean, cockiness.
love that?
I think I'm a fighter and I don't like go picking fights on the street or anything crazy, but
I'm not like in some underground fight club, but
it's like I'm not yeah, I would say I do. Like as a business owner, and I guess that's like a probably a safe segue into business ownership and everything it does to us. Of course I spiral and are like, what have I done? Is this even going to work? Like we do that to
uh,
ourselves. So it's not 24/7, but for the most part I'm like I think things through, I evaluate things, I have my process for making decisions. Sometimes they're wild and crazy and seem very spontaneous, but like it works out or it doesn't, and then we keep moving along. I try not to put too much pressure on it also. So
right, right,
yeah, I make a decision and I will confidently defend it. Um, but not in a defensive way, not in a like, well, let me prove to this rando that what I did
right,
for my life is right. Who cares?
right, right. Oh my God. Okay, so on that note, I want to go back to, you had your practice in Texas, you sold it,
Mhm.
you guys moved to Phoenix. Talk to me about like professional wise. You've owned multiple businesses. What did you
Yeah.
do next?
Uh, I was never going to be a lawyer again.
Why? What
I
happened? Or like, why did you?
I had really burnt myself out round one. And looking back, I was not conscious of it at the time, but looking back, I think I doubted my value. I doubted my success and my role in it. I
Mm,
had a business partner and I was like, he was very much like the relationship sales guy and I was the operations person. And I think um, I was not confident about my contribution and my value. And so working around the clock was how I proved to, I don't know who, that I
mm,
belonged doing what I was doing.
oh,
And like it's definitely a reflection thing. At the time I was just like, I don't have to do all this. I couldn't disappoint anybody, I couldn't tell anybody no, and so I really burnt myself out. And I kind of defined that being a lawyer means working around the clock. And we're taught that in law school. They're like, plan on working 80 hours a week. It's very, watch Suits.
Yeah. Stop. I just
The
restarted Suits. I'm on season 1.
I
I love
actually
it.
not seen it, and I'm very disappointed in myself, so I need to.
It's an easy
But all the
watch.
shows, like, it's all
Yeah.
about how hard they work, how their life is their business. And so I was like,
Mhm.
well, I guess if that's it, I don't want it anymore.
Right.
Um, and I started coaching executives and business owners, like CEOs, on how to keep their role and not burn themselves out.
Ooh.
And it took like 2 whole years of that I was like, wait a minute. I
Wait,
wonder,
like, wonder if I
wonder if I like took my own advice or something weird like that.
weird. Yep.
And I was like, what if I like completely turn this on its head? What if I do it my way? What if I'm billing flat fees and not counting minutes to bill hours? What if I have relationships first with my clients and then happen to do legal work for them as well?
Mhm.
And just completely turned it on its head, and it worked. And
Was there like an aha moment? Because, okay, a lot of people that are listening to this are like, if they're clients of mine, they are in service-based industries where, or like
yeah,
they're trading time for money all the time. Even
yeah.
my business is a lot of times like that. Was there a moment where you were like, I need to like flip the script? Like, what had happened that made you say, like, I need to do it my way and change that structure?
I think it was in dabbling with the idea of starting a practice again that I was like, okay, anything but that. And so I had to kind of dissect it. Like, what was it? Okay. Well, my first firm, our brilliant marketing scheme was that we had an attorney hotline, and we had a separate phone that we advertised an attorney would be available 24/7. Just give us a call. Do you know what people do when you tell them they can call you 24/7?
Do they
They
call?
call you 24/7. They call
Real.
at 3 a.m. And we weren't like divorce lawyers. We weren't like, there weren't real emergencies on the other side. We were real estate lawyers. Go to bed, people.
Like, were they just so stressed out that it was keeping them up at night and they're like, "Oh, 24/7." Like,
Like, and a
wow.
lot of it was real. So it was realtors. So like a realtor's up in the middle of the night worried about their transaction, and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so I took like all these things that we did, and I'm like, well, that was dumb. I don't want anybody calling me at 3 a.m. How do I do that? And then I was kind of starting to hear in the legal community people complain about how much it sucks that the better we get at our job and the more effective we get at our job just means we have to do more work to keep
Mhm.
earning the money. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. Why would I financially punish myself at being really efficient
Mm.
if if this document would normally cost somebody $1,000. You're going to go to an attorney, and by the time you meet with them and talk to their paralegal and do another meeting and do this, you've paid $1,000 for it. If I've come up with systems to be really effective and efficient with getting that knocked out,
Mhm.
why am I financially punished for that? And I get paid for 1 hour instead of the 3 that this other attorney claims that they spent on it.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah.
And clients are always mad, potential clients then coming to me and being like, well, I just hate, I never know what I'm going to pay. The attorney tells me, well, their hourly rate's $400 an hour. Well, what does that mean? Like,
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
that means nothing to me. How many hours are you going to spend? So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I can marry those two things. I can say the value of this end product is $1,000. It's none of your concern how much time it did or didn't take me. You have predictability.
Mhm.
I get paid for value, not time, and everybody's happy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. So what was your first move
Why?
then, knowing like, okay, these are my non-negotiables. This is kind of like how I want this system to work. Did you then kind of go into an area of these are all the services I can offer and this is how I'm going to structure it?
Mhm.
Or what was the next step?
Yeah, exactly. I first looked at, instead of what do people need? And I think that's a really big problem, particularly for women in business. I don't want to just shame us, but we want to help. Like
Mm,
if you say, why did you go into this business you went into? It's, well, I wanted to help these people with this problem.
mhm.
And it's this give, give, give. And I want to really challenge women in business to get a little selfish with it. What do you love about doing the work you do? You get to love it. You should love it. If you do not love it, and the only reason you're doing your work is because it's this charitable giving, like freaking stop it. Stop.
Okay, what do you do? What do you do
And
instead?
so
What do
I
you
got
say?
selfish with it. I was like, I don't want to talk about another real estate contract with anybody. I don't want to be available to somebody's. So I went through what I didn't want. I'm like, okay, what are the most fun things? What is it? What are the client calls that when they call me and are like, hey, can we talk about this? I'm like, this is fun. Let's dive into it. What do I love?
Mhm.
And I love growing businesses. It's not some charitable, oh, I just want to help people grow their business. Yeah, sure, why not? But that's fun for me. I would start a new business every 5 minutes if I could. That much to my
I
husband's
love
chagrin. But
that.
that business startup process, that creative process is so fun for me. It's like an artist painting a picture. Like that's so fun.
Mhm,
So I'm like, let me do that. So when people are building their business, they need trademarks. They need strategy plan. Yeah, they need contracts, but a lot of that strategy planning, like
mhm.
how are you going to serve people? What services are you going to offer? What do you want to say no to? A lot of it is kind of like this coaching thing, but
Yeah.
then we put that into a contract. Like the contract just happens to be the end vessel, but
Mhm.
it's fun. So I'm like, oh, I like that. I'll offer
Right,
those things. What's the value of that? Not how long does it take me, not like what's my hourly rate, but
mhm.
what at the end of the day, from start to finish, what would a client expect to go to any other law firm and their bill to be at the end of the day with all this?
Mhm.
That's the flat fee.
Okay, let's dive in to that. When you were coming up with your, I mean, obviously you'd owned a practice before, so you knew
Mhm.
what like pricing was. I think that that's something that a lot of business owners struggle with is teetering between the, well, I don't want to live in a scarcity mindset, but I want to make sure
Mhm.
that I have clients that are, buying my product or service. So I'm going to charge lower. Or, there's people who have done the work and they're like, no, this is my worth. And then now they're stuck figuring out, but how can I make
But
sure
how
that
do I find
there's,
someone that
right,
there's enough value to support
right,
this high
right.
ticket that I just, yeah.
How did you go through that process of deciding what it was worth and the value that you would be adding to it?
Yeah, I think I started a little low. I have done in 3 years that this firm has existed, I've done a couple price bumps.
Mhm,
Not dramatic, but I had been at that point, I had been an attorney for 12 years. So I had a good idea like what conversations do
mhm,
we need to have? How long will those take? Ultimately, I kind of back into hours a little bit.
mhm,
Um, and then there were some things that I did underestimate. I'm like, really to do a good job, we need to spend more time here. So yeah, this flat fee is going to have to bump for the next person. So I've done a little bit of bumps, but I don't time track. It's more like about what went into that. That was a lot more than I thought.
right, right.
And it's and then it's also really important, and I've gotten really good about setting boundaries, not letting clients just call me to talk my ear off. Like, I'm not your therapist. I'm not like,
I just work here.
so I've gotten good. And I'm not weird about it. I'm not like, this isn't an appropriate phone call. That's awkward.
Right.
But I'll be like, hey, yeah, I hear you. That is such a challenging thing. But I'm not your girl for that. So let's like you go talk to this person, work through it. Or I know it's where I want to make relationships, like meeting friends on Instagram DMs
Yeah.
that do other things. If somebody's saying, hey, they call me to talk about their contract, but really they've got a sales and marketing problem. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, I hear you. So, here's some things we can put in contracts, but that doesn't sound like it's actually your problem. You've got an SEO problem. Like
Mm.
we can file your trademark all day long, but this other person competing with your name isn't actually why you're not getting sales. Like, yes,
Right.
let's legally protect you, but let me get with this person so that you're landing at the top of Google. If your problem is this knockoff of your brand has your competitor that has knocked off your brand, but has them hitting the top of Google, your
Mhm.
trademark's not going to stop that. So
Right.
yes, let's legally protect you and do that. And also let me get you with this SEO person. Let me get you with this marketing person. Let's get
Mhm.
your sales so off the charts that somebody knocking off your brand is kind of irrelevant to you also.
Right. Well, and if it does become like an issue, you're bringing in the sales, you can be able to pay for, lawyer fees and keep going where nothing is
Yes.
worse than I've had an issue with another company that had the same name, not in my marketing business, in our coffee business. And
Mhm.
that's what it came down to is we were like, I'll fight this all freaking day. Like I've got sales coming in, like I will not stop.
Yeah.
And, COVID happened and they had a brick and mortar and we had an online business. And who do you think was still in business? Like we still had
Yeah.
sales coming in because we were worrying about those things, which I am not saying, oh my God, I know what you're talking about. I think that just naturally happened that way because I
No,
was
I
like, we
think,
got to bring
but
sales in.
no, you make a really great point. It's like it doesn't make the legal aspect irrelevant. It's very, very important. But the just shit of it is the law is set up to be expensive. Lawyers have done a really great job of making sure people can only protect what's rightfully theirs by spending a shit ton of money. It sucks.
Mhm.
That's why I do legal protections, not litigation, because I hate that aspect of our legal system. It's what it is.
Right, right.
And bottom line, it's who can outspend each other if somebody's just completely stonewalling. So it's like, it doesn't mean you don't do anything with the legal processes, but you can't legally defend a broke business.
Right, right. Okay, so at what point did you decide, all right, I've have my value, I have my services, I have the type of clients I want to work with. When did digital products and like your online store come into the mix? And I am so excited to hear you talk about this because I'm definitely late to the game on this stuff. So to just hear someone else's process is so valuable.
Yeah. Okay. First caveat I want to give, because this pisses me off, is when people will say, oh, we'll just create a course. We'll just create a digital product. Like you're going to do this shit in your
Like,
sleep in 2
oh,
hours.
oh, I didn't even
It
think
is
about that.
a lot of work. It has taken 2 years for me to get my digital product platform where it's worth what I charge for these products. Like
Mhm.
it's a lot of work. And so I'll hear these experts in various fields be like, I wish I could have more side income and that whole make money while you sleep. I wish I had more of that um, you know, residual income coming in that doesn't require me to trade my time for money.
Mhm.
And then people are like, oh, just create a course. It's like it's not freaking easy. Like, so
Right.
let me just get really
Well,
clear on that.
and I think too, those people that are saying it, I don't know if you've done this, but I'm the type of person where if like building a course, I will buy everyone else's course because I want to consume it to be like, what do I like? What do I not like? What do I want mine to be
Right.
like? And I'll buy someone's course and I'm like, this is it. I thought this was a lot harder or it needed to be different, but also I'm very underwhelmed. That's what I experience buying a lot of courses.
Yeah, there's a lot of market research to be done, but then yeah, they tend to be underwhelming. And but even the underwhelming ones, like hours to put together in technology, and the technology for just delivery is expensive. Like there's just a lot that goes into it. No, I'm
Mhm.
not trying to talk anyone out of it, but if you tell yourself this, like if you watch the Instagram influencers that are getting a kickback from Kajabi, which Kajabi is one of the like course delivery platforms. Of course, they're going to be like, just create a course. It took me 5 hours. No, it didn't. It's
Didn't.
hard.
It's true.
That said, if you do it right and it is continuing to make income over time, it's worth all that effort it takes. But I think a
Mhm.
lot of people either under deliver because they're like, I need to get this thing out there. And I didn't realize it was going to take me months. So I'm just going
Mhm.
to and like get
Mhm.
something out there. But that said, okay, so my digital products that I decided one day to do, and then I spit it out in 2 hours. No, I didn't. 2 years. I
It's like
spit it out in 2 years. I had so the whole time I was never going to be a lawyer again, I was still out networking. I wanted to meet people in Arizona. I wanted to meet adults and not all my friends just be like my kids' friends' parents. And so I started networking. The very first group I started going to is a women's networking group here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area called the Foundress. Um, if anybody across like people are like, oh, the Foundress, but then if anybody across the world that comes here for it have heard of Junk in the Trunk Vintage Market, it is the owners of Junk in the Trunk that started this women's networking group. And it was very much them. Their names are Coley and Lindsay, and they just saw a need for women in business, women business owners to a lot of small business owners to just get together and
Mhm.
support each other. And I think it's like 200 strong now. And when I say that, it's not like members that like every now and then they come to something, like they book out those monthly meetings. Like the
Wow.
room is full. And so that was the very first thing I went to. It was kind of just asking around, and somebody was like, oh, this organization has their lunch party today. And I just went. I knew nobody. And I felt so welcomed. And then still getting like involved with the local chamber. And then over COVID, there was this random group of women that would just have Zoom calls. And there's another organization called No Women that I've recently gotten involved with, and NABO. And it's just they're all women's groups. It's not like
Mhm.
I'm not mad at men. I'll take men for clients. I
I'll
have
go.
plenty of them, but um, there is one that isn't women that's co-ed called Scottsdale Living, and
Mhm.
it's just an amazing group of business owners. And so I've just been going to these things, and what I kept hearing, especially these small business owners in these groups, they were like, listen, I can't afford an attorney right now. Like I'm brand new, but I know I need to have contracts. I bought this thing online. I won't drop names, but we all know the typical online platforms. So I bought like a 1099 agreement online, and it spit out this like 20 pages, and I have no idea what it says. And so many people saying, what would you charge just to look at this for me? And I'm like, well, frankly, more than drafting it from scratch. Like 20 pages is a lot to read and play Where's Waldo on
Right.
where the problems are, and then translate it into something that's
You
you can
understand.
understand. And it was constant. It was just really constant of people saying, I can't, like, I can afford half of a contract from you, but I need something. And I'm like, okay, these are the same dozen contracts everybody's asking for.
Mhm.
It's the same problem of they need it to be understandable, not 20 page, like give me like a
Mhm.
2 to 3 pager that will cover what my business needs covered until I can afford to customize something. And so I'm like, okay, I can't just like hear the same problem over and over again. And so that's what I created. I was like, okay, we're taking these standard contracts that I've used for my business clients forever. Let me translate them 3 times over. And then let my teenager read them and say, do you read this and understand what's expected of both the people here? Let's make it a win-win, not like
Mhm.
oh, these are small business owners with their first client. They're not going to shove some like screw them over contract in front of them. So let's make it truly like a win-win, and short and sweet. And it's not $25 like you can get online. It's not $50 like you can get online. These are $300 to $400 contracts on my digital shop,
Mhm.
but it's what they were asking for. It's half my price or less.
Uh-huh.
And it's something that they feel really confident to use. And I even added video tutorials on here's how to customize this thing for your business. Here's how you can use this, not just like shove it in front of somebody and sign it. And
Mhm.
everybody's loving it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How many products total do you have now?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a great problem to have.
I would guess about 20, maybe. I could
What's
be overestimating that. Maybe it's like 50, I don't know.
What's your best seller or sellers?
By far, the 1099 contractor agreement.
Mhm.
And close second to that, the various package of coaching contracts. So I have, one-on-one coaching agreement, a group coaching agreement, a retreat participation agreement, and then I have them bundled and packaged.
Mhm.
And those are huge sellers because it seems like the coaching world, they're really onto it. Like, hey, we're going to protect our stuff legally, but there really isn't, like, you can't get on LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer and find a coaching. I don't
Right.
think, I don't want to like accuse them of that. Maybe they've come up to date, but I've never like the feedback I was getting is there wasn't even anything out there for that.
Right. When it comes to coaching clients, group coaching clients, even retreats, what are the things that you love coaching your clients about or with or through?
Intellectual property protection is huge. That's one thing that's also really rampant in the coaching industry, especially business coaches,
Mm,
is their clients. It's kind of like business coaches coaching business coaches.
it
And
is.
so
It
their
is.
clients, whether they think that they should or can or not, it's really bad that their clients will just take their whole program and resell it with their name on it.
There has been so many instances. So back up a little bit, which you know these people. Well, I don't know if you know them. If you know this person
Mm.
personally, we need to talk. Dean Graziosi, who lives in
Oh, I don't know who that
Scottsdale.
is.
Okay, on Scottsdale Road, down by where's the place where you can get the breakfast buzz?
Oh,
Delish.
everywhere? What?
The Delish, a little smoothie,
Oh, I
like,
don't
juice
know.
place. It's okay, so it's on Scottsdale
Okay.
Road, go past a couple strip clubs, keep going, and
Okay.
there is a
Keep going.
building there's a building on the northeast side of the road, it's big, it's white, and it's mastermind.com, and then there's also
Oh,
a salon there. So Dean Graziosi is the guy, and his wife, Lisa, she has the salon, but he's in, like, the whole personal development industry, but he's
okay.
homies with Tony Robbins. And
Oh,
they did all of that big, like, right before COVID. I mean, I drink the Kool-Aid. I like say it like I don't know. I bought the course. I was like,
yeah.
I want to be them. But the one thing that I was taking those courses, and at the same time as the self-learning industry started blowing up, I started watching all of these other business coaches, get on Instagram or whatever and like do their pitch and start talking. And I'm like, we took the same course. Like
Yeah.
you're using
You're
something.
ripping it off.
Right. And to me, I'm like, yeah, I know the hook, story, close method of telling a story and getting a sale works. But when I hear someone else say hook, story, close, I'm like, you took the Tony Robbins class, like, hello, fellow alum. And to me, it makes me have the ick. And I'm like, I never want someone to feel that way if they're consuming my content, being like, she ripped that off of whoever.
Well, and I saw it like similar is when I decided, which I failed to give this plug, I forgot about it until just now. When I was like, I want to do this completely differently, I took Marie Forleo's course because I'm like, okay, her people are my clients. What if I built a law practice in this super untraditional way, but that's similar to how my clients would
Mhm.
do their business? So I
I
loved
love
her
that.
course. But then that's where you then just see coach after coach after coach using Marie
Mhm.
Forleo language and teaching identical stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, it's one thing, both ethically and legally and functionally, it's one thing to learn from someone and take what you learned and turn it into your own thing and put your personality and your creativity in it. But the inspiration, obviously, you wouldn't even be there if you hadn't learned something.
Right, right.
That's what everybody should do.
Mhm.
But ripping somebody else's stuff off is completely different. Using the same language, just rinse and repeating it when you don't have your own success stories, your own
Mhm.
methodologies into it. You're just like, oh, I learned this. Let me reteach it. You don't know it.
Right.
Learning and knowing are different things. And so that's definitely with coaches and the contracts that I put together for them. We are having a lot of talk around yes, how to contract their intellectual property protection, but also what do you need to say? What do you need to do? Let's just assume they're not actually reading this contract, even though they should. How in practice, what are the things that you should do to make it clear? They are not welcome to rip off what you're teaching them. You're
Mhm.
teaching them methodologies, you're not giving them a business in a box.
Mhm.
And, you know, even some of my best clients, horror stories. There's another business coach that happens to be an attorney that like quit practicing law and went to business coaching. And I knew somebody that had taken one of her courses. Now, I don't know, like, I don't know the details of the course or service, but somehow this person got their hands on her contract. And we're like, she's an attorney and a business coach. Her contract has to be good.
Right.
Well, the contract gave away all of the intellectual property. Now, I don't know, maybe this coach I don't know why she had that contract. Maybe she had a done for you program that she was giving away the intellectual property to something. But
Mhm.
when it was reused for the wrong purpose, and then this coach was like, "Wait, my client is like totally ripping off my brand. What can I do?" And I'm like, "Well, let me see the contract you used." I'm like, "You sold it to her. Like
Oh
she
my
can."
god. Wow. Oh my gosh.
And
Okay,
so I think
that's
that's a
all.
misunderstanding in the industry is like, oh, well, this is from this person. It must be good. Well, good
Mhm.
for what? You don't know what service they were using it for. You don't know their intention. So
Right,
does
right,
it match what yours is?
right. Okay, I wanna make sure we get into this. So, you just mentioned 3 years into your new practice now, right?
Hmm.
At what point in like, from day 1 to yesterday, when you made a really big announcement, did you decide, "I'm ready for a rebrand"? Like, I wanna know the time that it took before yesterday when you made that announcement.
So hmm, probably about 3 months.
Okay.
Like I
Yeah.
do some things Vegas wedding style.
No, I love that.
I still
Um
trust my decisions. It was a really dumb reason though. And I say that not, I'm not shaming myself. I love my dumb reason, but I want to be clear that like you don't have to have this like amazing altruistic reason to do things. You
uh-huh.
are under no obligation to make sense to anybody else. That's like the theme of
Yep,
this
that's the same.
podcast. So the reason was I didn't think I needed a rebrand. I had no problem with my brand. And if anybody had asked me 4 months ago,
Huh.
how do you want to grow your law firm? I would have said, I don't. I'm very happy with it as me, the solo attorney. I have my small team. We can take care of one client at a time. I don't need anything different. I'm going to grow my digital products. I'm content. I wasn't upset with my brand. And I think that's where a lot of people in your position, like when you're talking to potential clients, they're like, well, I don't have a problem with my brand. They probably
Mhm.
don't. The silly reason was, so my last name's Gilliland. People have a hard time saying that. And I would meet, if that was the name of my firm, I'd meet people and our whole conversation would be how you pronounce my name and who freaking cares? Like that's the least interesting thing we could talk about. So it's like, I'm not naming my firm the Gilliland Law Firm because our whole freaking thing will be how you say my name. Who cares? Say whatever you want. Um, then I just did my initials then, SDG.
Mhm.
Can't figure it out. Nobody can figure it out. So I'm like, the SDG Law Firm. The what? The we F what does that mean? What now we're having the same stupid conversation I don't want to have.
Right, right.
It was purely the rebrand started with I was annoyed with my name
That's
or how people
funny.
perceived my name or initials. And so I went to a friend of mine that also does branding. And I'm like, listen, in Arizona, you're allowed to have a trade name for a law firm. Other states, you can't. Like the whole time I think Texas has changed it recently, but the whole time I practiced in Texas, you could only have a law firm named after yourself. Or I think maybe there was an exception for like geographic area.
Oh
You could
my
be the Dallas
gosh.
law firm, but you couldn't like get creative.
Oh
In
my
Arizona, you
gosh.
can get creative. You can call it whatever you want. And I was like, okay, we got to name this thing because I'm getting annoyed with people
Mhm,
not saying my name. And then it turned into, because as you know, I'm sure when you're working with your clients, you're not just like, what name do you want? You're like,
mhm.
what flavor of ice
What's
cream
the
is your business
vibe?
and what
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
vibe? And you're going through all of these practices. And it then gave me this vision for a business that I never had because it was boring to me. The name was annoying. The business wasn't boring. I was having fun with my clients,
Mhm,
but I didn't have a vision for it having a life of its own
mhm.
because that was irrelevant to me. And then when I go through this branding process where it's like it has a vibe and it has this really cool name, and the name exemplifies what I want for all of my clients. Now I'm not like, and this whole mindset shifted in the branding process of I don't just want one-off client at a time. I want everybody, and I want the cool lawyers to come work with me. And I want like I would love to have a building with this name on it. Like it now has a life that I want to nurture that it just didn't have before.
Wow, that had to be such a exhilarating process and feeling from going from like, no, like I don't care about that. Like this is where I want my business to go to like that name just kind of sparked this whole other dream and idea.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, the
Okay.
name, but I mean, I'm sure the rest of the process, but it was
Right.
like the whole branding process gave it a life that I
Right.
didn't think was a problem. I wasn't like, oh, this is a problem for me. I was content, but then it gave it a life I didn't even know it could have.
Oh my gosh.
It was
So
cool.
you made the announcement yesterday. What
Hmm.
is your 2024? And I know that's you're not like we plan our days and our weeks and our years beyond, but for the topic
Hmm.
of New Year's conversation, where are you
Hmm.
going in 2024? What are you doing with this? What kind of life are you giving your brand and how are you going to do that?
So I have to be very intentional not to neglect the legal shop is our digital platform. And I
Mhm.
still want to help as many people, as many new businesses that cannot afford the attorney yet. I still really want to build that. So I don't want to like get so excited with this that I neglect that.
Mhm.
So I'm being intentional with my time dedication there. Um, but I want to kind of, I think I was a little bit under a social media rock.
Mhm.
I wasn't, I just didn't get around to it. It's not like I'm afraid of it. I had somebody recently be like, oh, I know you hate social media. I'm like, no, I don't. That's
I just
weird.
don't have
But I'm
time to
like,
do it.
oh, okay. Well, if that's the vibe. So I'm like, okay, when I meet people in person, they're like excited. They're like, oh, your kind of law practice exists. So I think I really want to get intentional with social media just because it's a natural place to be like, hey, this exists
Mhm.
and here's how I can help you. And here's what you need to protect your business before it's a problem for you. And so
Right.
getting loud with that messaging, having conversations like this, being on social media, I think that's the start.
Yeah.
And then like see where it goes.
Oh my gosh, I love all of this. I'm so excited for all of this for you. Even just watching your journey over the last few months when we started talking, you have opened up a whole new world for me as a business owner. And I'm sure you've realized that through like doing all of your own market research. Like a lot of us, like business owners out here, we don't know that legal jargon. Like that's not why we got into this business. And it can be very intimidating. And I feel like I watch your content and I always learn so much. And I appreciate that because yeah, it's just it's intentional, it's valuable, you're really freaking funny, and that doesn't you're good easy on the eyes, and that doesn't hurt either. I
Oh, thank you so
appreciate
much for saying all that.
yeah, well, and I mean it too. And next time I'm in Scottsdale, we're gonna have to meet for a cocktail or a foundress event or something and
Yes,
get
please, all of
together.
the above.
Yeah. Okay. Can you pimp yourself out? Tell
Yes.
everyone where they can find you, all the goods.
Yes. So, like, my main hub of communication is definitely Instagram at the lawyer Sarah with an H, because that's who I am. And kind of everything flows from there. So my bio link in Instagram takes you to all of the projects that I work on. So Instagram at the lawyer Sarah, TikTok at the legal shop, Instagram at the legal shop, and risingbrandlegal.com. And that's everywhere I am.
That's perfect. I'm
And
gonna
in
add
Scottsdale.
and in not Phoenix, Scottsdale. That's gonna
Not
probably be like
Phoenix,
the name of the
Scottsdale.
episode, not Phoenix, Scottsdale. I'm gonna link all of your information in the show notes too. That way everyone can go and find it. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And I'm
you. And
excited for my crew
thank
to
you for
meet with.
like working with all of our technology stuff at the
Oh
beginning.
my gosh, no, you're fine. That's it, literally, that's
Mercury's in
fun.
the microwave. We can't help it.
Now I'm gonna be sending you that stuff. Now that I know that it's a safe space to save it.